What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want? God damn it, what do you want?
I have to go.
Regardless of what mainstream media outlets and social media activists would have you believe, the answer is really quite simple as to why this is the lowest Memorial Day weekend turnout in 3 decades. It's because Hollywood hasn't given us any stories worth showing up for. When they give us stories we want to see, we show up in droves. When they don't, we don't waste our time or our money. They're both incredibly valuable and very hard earned. We're not just going to give those away for free anymore. So it's a little shocking to hear that we not have 1, not 2, but 4 decent choices at the cinema. If you've got young kids and family and you want to go watch a film, you have 2 pretty solid choices. You've got If, which is a Ryan Reynolds film, and you've got the Garfield movie, which is a solid hit to the nostalgia bone. If I had to choose between one of these 2, it's going to be the Garfield movie for me. Like I said, it tickles the nostalgia bone just right, and with no disrespect to Ryan Reynolds, his character just sort of seems like a downplayed Deadpool. If itself is a very solid family film, it's got great heart, good themes, it delivers, and it's a fun time. But when it comes to delivering that story and hitting that nostalgia bone, being comical in a way that the whole family can really enjoy and laugh at together, and not trying to reinvent the wheel or ever pretend that it's something that it's not, Garfield nails this in every aspect. So, for myself personally, if I had to choose, I'm going to go with the Garfield movie. You're not really going to waste your time with either of these films, but I would say that the Garfield movie has my solid vote. Now, if you don't have young kids, or if you've got older kids and you want something with some more action, some more spectacle, and quite frankly, just a really good high-octane time, you have 2 choices. You've got Furiosa, the Mad Max saga, and you've got The Fall Guy. Not going to bury the lead on this one either. When it comes to choosing between these 2 films, I'm going to choose The Fall Guy. I'm about to go see it for the 3rd time, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. And I can already hear everybody, well, it's on demand at home, so why don't I just go home and watch it there? If for no other reason, even though there are plenty, the boat chase scene must be seen on a theater screen. You just need to see that and experience it in big screen. It is just fantastic and amazing. On top of that, you have a male and a female protagonist that you are rooting for, not just as a couple, but individually. They are both solid, well-delivered characters who really portray honesty and relatability, regardless of where you are in life. And to be perfectly honest, the overall story, the plot, the characters, they're fantastic. It's a very competent cast. It delivers an incredible story. The stunts are amazing, and this really is a love letter to the stunt crew and coordinators. And the film takes the absolute piss out of the Oscars, which I am always a fan for. It doesn't break the fourth wall, but it flat out calls them out for not having a stunt award section. And even though award ceremonies have become sort of a self-aggrandizing, self-serving circle, I would say that people would probably tune in to see the stunt section because we have seen some incredible feats. And it's these people's jobs to make these shows incredible. They have the most dangerous job on the production set, and their entire purpose is to make it more enjoyable, more jaw-dropping, more inspiring, and to do that in a way that is both creative, yet not so creative that you can't fathom it actually being real. So this movie manages to mix in hilarity, heart, action, sincerity, and overall just a really good time. The entire thing is fantastic. They set a world record with the stunts, and you get to see the behind-the-scene footage of it during the credits, which is just fantastic. And Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt have a chemistry that is just phenomenal. It's a 2-hour runtime, but you don't feel the 2 hours. And that is saying a lot, especially because we have gotten a lot of movies that are over bloated and you can really feel that extended runtime. On that note, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. First of all, doesn't have Mad Max in it. It does have Praetorian Jack, which is like a pseudo Mad Max stand-in, and it's the best part of the film when he is in it. Overall, this was a prequel that was not necessary. It wasn't needed. It's a fine film. It definitely has action scenes. It has a concise and relatively simple plot. It can be engaging, but frankly, I could have lived without the first 45 minutes and the last 45 minutes of that film. And we already know Furiosa's story from Fury Road. This is a bunch of backfill that we didn't need, and the most intriguing part of the story outside of Praetorian Jack was Dr. Dementis, who was played by Chris Hemsworth. He had the gravitas, he had the pull, and definitely the chops to make this an epic character. I disagree with what was done to his character at the end, but that's just my humble opinion. I didn't really need to see 6 different methods of him dying, but I'll let you guys decide when you get there. I think that overall the story itself is fine, the movie is fine, but it's not a Mad Max movie, and quite frankly, I don't think that Furiosa does anything overly insane. It doesn't try to reinvent the wheel, but I will say that the side story, the subplot of who's going to control the wastelands was a much more intriguing story than Furiosa's origin. I would have much rather seen the 40-day wasteland war and who and why and how is going to control the wastelands, as opposed to how Furiosa lost her arm, why she hates Dr. Dementis, why she's running away with the brood mothers. Just different things that we didn't need to see, and especially when there's a far more interesting story being told in the backdrop of this story. So if you would like to go see an action film and you're looking for spectacle and you're looking for those effects and you're looking for that wow, then I would definitely say The Fall Guy. It deserves to be seen on the big screen, and I don't say that lightly.
Those mob fools want you gone so they can get back to the way things were. But I know the truth. There's no going back. You've changed things. Forever.
So what exactly is going on? Why did this happen all of the sudden? Is it what Hollywood says, and it's just racist, sexist, misogynist fans who ruin things? Or is there something more to this story? Well, you and I both know that answer, but Hollywood seems to be struggling, and this past Memorial Weekend really confused them because they really do have 4 decent options for us to go check out in theaters. So why isn't anybody turning up? Why isn't anyone showing up? Who is coming to save them? And the answer is no one, and they can thank the studios themselves for that. You can only belittle, degrade, demean, and insult people for so long before they just walk away. For their own health, their own sanity, and quite frankly, we have better things to do with our time and better people to be around. And that really gets to the crux of it. Like I said at the beginning of this video, time is a very precious commodity. You can always get more money, but you can't always get more time. And even right now, getting more money is far more difficult than it used to be. Inflation is through the roof, and everything takes more effort now just to try and get what you had for a third of the cost a few years ago. When you consider all of that, and you actually break down what goes into going out for a movie night, if you have kids, you need to find a babysitter. You've got to pay the babysitter. You might have to go pick the babysitter up and drop the babysitter off. So now you're paying for gas for that. Now you have to make the drive to the movie theater. For me, that's a 15-minute drive to my closest theater. For some people, my actual big theater, the closest one to me, is an hour away one way. That's a lot. That's a 2-hour round trip just to get to a movie theater that might be showing something other than the newest release or the newest release for the weekend. That's something to keep in mind too. A lot of people have to commute. And when you alienate half of the country, especially when that half generally has a longer commute to get to movie theaters, they're not going to put in that gas, that time, that effort just to get to and from the location. So you've got that to figure in. Now, let's say you do have one of those huge cineplexes that have multiple screens. You have to stand in line and wait for your tickets and your concessions, spend a ton of money right there. Then you've got to walk to wherever it is that your screen is. Then you have to sit in a room with strangers. You don't control the temperature. You don't control the volume. The seats are definitely more comfortable than they have been in the past, but that's still not anything that's gonna be, oh yeah, I'm gonna go for the seats. Nobody says that at all, especially when you can have a comfortable recliner at home. To get people to come to your movie, to get people to put butts in seats, you got to start making good movies that are worth us leaving our house for. Especially if you're just going to drop them on video on demand within 2 weeks of them being released in theaters. Why would anyone go? Why would anyone go? People showed up for The Return of the King. People showed up for The Phantom Menace because they were excellent, solid films that didn't have an agenda, that told a story, that were incredible to see and incredible to watch. People are not showing up for this message-infused drivel. It's not anything that they want, and it's not anything that we need. When you consider the time factor alone, it's a huge sacrifice and investment. Now, when you take all of that in consideration, there's another factor that comes into play that is equally as important. People can no longer trust the mainstream sources that they used to rely on to let them know if a movie was worth their time and money. We've been called names, we've been told to touch grass, we've been told to ignore it, we've been told not to show up, and we've been flat out lied to about what's actually in the show that we want to go see. Why would we waste our time? We're done being gaslit, we're done being abused, we're done being treated like we don't matter. Guess what? Our money is green, and we work our butts off for it. If you want it, you are not entitled to it. You're going to have to work harder than I worked to earn this money if you really want me to let go of it and spend it on your production. That's what this boils down to. This is the culmination of years of abuse from Hollywood. And now, it's time to pay the piper. Audiences are done being treated like we don't matter, or that we're stupid, or that we just don't understand. Reposts, likes, comments, especially when they're bots, we're not stupid, we know. Doesn't matter what the traffic is on Instagram. It doesn't matter what the Facebook group is saying. These studies that you guys have been leaning so heavily on to justify your exorbitant budgets and your racist practices aren't going to fly. It doesn't hold water. The sooner that stakeholders and investors realize this, the better off everyone's going to be, especially the production studio's bottom line and audiences in general. There is a perfect formula for a guaranteed hit. You just have to be willing to follow it.
Rescue the damsel in distress, kill the bad guy, and save the world.
However you choose to follow that formula, by all means, go for it. That's where the narrative and the imagination and the overall story and characters come into play. But if you stick with that particular strategy, the odds are definitely going to be in your favor. We're done with the girl boss. We are done with the female empowerment message. We are done with all of it. Women are not showing up, and this isn't what men want. There hasn't really been a date night movie in theaters for a while. I would say The Fall Guy is one, But outside of that, I honestly can't think of a date night movie off the top of my head in years. Honest to God, cannot think of a date night movie. Which is wild. Wild! Because that used to be a Valentine's Day thing. That used to be, you used to have on this Valentine's Day. I honestly cannot think of the last date movie that there was, like a date night movie that there was. I think the last one I can recall, it was a parody, and I'm pretty sure it was called Date Night. That's just sad. Hollywood has so many opportunities to fix this. It would be so simple. It would be so simple. But you refuse to do it. You refuse to accept that you were wrong. Humility is not humiliation. Correcting course and going back to what works, what's profitable, there is no shame in that. It would be the wise decision before all of you end up sinking together. People are being much more conscientious about where and how they spend their money. And until Hollywood figures out that they are a want, not a need, this is not going to go well. No one is going to be spending $100 for 2 tickets and popcorn and pop to go watch a movie where they get belittled, degraded, and insulted, all while being told that they just need to sit there and take it. The truth is, it isn't superhero fatigue. It isn't even girl boss fatigue. Though, admittedly, those are definitely setting in. It's bad storytelling and box office wariness. We can't trust our usual mainstream media sites because they're in bed with the production studios because they need to keep their access, that sweet, sweet access. So why would we waste our time, our money, and the effort just to be disappointed over and over again? I appreciate you guys for stopping by. If you like this video, let me know. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you can. And as always, much love, God bless, Godspeed, and hopefully Hollywood gets its act together so we get more movies worth watching. And go check out The Fall Guy.
Star of the movie
Tom Ryder.
is missing. We need you to find him.
Why me?
You're a stuntman. No one's gonna notice whether you're here or not. No offense.
I mean, some taken. I'm just a stunt guy!